Welcome again, everyone, to the Bricked Up Blitz podcast. This is your co-host Lemnos with Wayne and our surprise guest of the week, CJ.
Hey, CJ, what's been on your mind lately, CJ?
Hmm. Um, so I was just I think the Russell Wilson Jeff Sturry crossover was so good that it inspired me. And so I've been working on creating a matching quiz for 23 players in the league. So,
Like, as in, like the
Ooh.
NFL equivalent?
yep,
Interesting.
yep. I'll probably release it after this.
Cool. So, just a sneak peek for us. Do you know who is Lem and who is myself in this matchup? If it's not ready yet, it's all good. I'm just curious if you know.
Yeah. So I have my idea. Actually, before I answer, what's your input? Should I just release it and it be a voting thing where whoever like just divided by quarter by position and then whoever votes each player for the highest thing, or should I go with my original ideas and have them be like correct answers and stuff?
I think this is just for fun. So honestly, like I don't think you don't need any votes. It's just like whoever your prompts say they are, then so be it. I don't know if any of us take it that seriously to be against or be upset about it. So I think no, I really don't care. Just leave it as
Cool,
whatever
cool.
you have.
Yeah, and it's
So
kind of it's
for
kind of fun like that too, because you this is like going back way back when you take those like shitty quizzes on like random websites and
mhm.
what is your drink? Or like if you were a drink, what would you be? And you fill out all this shit that probably gives away your personal information. And it's like, oh, you're like
I'm water.
just you're water. Like, oh, what? I thought it was gonna be something fancy like an old fashioned, but no,
I'm
I'm fucking
Perrier.
water.
I'm Perrier water.
But yeah, so I think you should just let whatever comes out of it and be the answer.
Awesome. That's what I was leaning towards. So I'll tell you guys for I'll just tell you your position because I don't want to give the answers away. But
Yep.
Lemnos is a linebacker and Wayne is a quarterback.
Okay.
Oh, it's so obvious. I'm Urlacher.
No, I knew
Now, right.
that's who I thought of immediately. So
Uh,
you're not Urlacher.
Oh,
You're
damn, damn.
someone more recent. Who's playing
49ers.
now.
Oh,
49ers.
I did okay. Fred Warner was definitely someone I considered.
Okay, okay,
are
so
they
it's
are
not,
they
it's not,
retired
but okay.
players or current players or
I think
both?
it's current, right?
Mostly current.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
I think almost everyone I chose a current player for. Almost everyone.
Okay, well, we are looking forward to that list. I can't wait to see what Lem and myself is, and many others. Um, so, Lem, I know we just jumped into introducing CJ as we should, but don't we have a tournament next Saturday?
Thanks for bringing that up, Wayne. We do. So next week, yeah, exactly a week, on the 14th of September, we have the Autumn 2024 Pumpkin Spice Latte Blitz Tournament. Um, so that'll start at 9 p.m. The draft will start at 9 p.m. We're going to be testing out the tier system. We're going to finalize the tiers, and then we will draft based on that. It'll be a nice test. We're also going to try to do free play, see if that's anything where the wide receiver can line up anywhere. So we can try and see if that might be tenable for future play, whether it's pubs or season three, and just kind of see how a competitive environment with that goes. Um, and as a reminder, there are cash prizes. So the number one uh, team, each member will get $40 and a gift card to somewhere that has a pumpkin spice latte for sale. So, like a Starbucks or a Dunkin' or whatever other local places. I don't know if Hortons has pumpkin spice lattes or pumpkin spice flavorings. And then prize, second place, the team gets $10 cash per person, and then third place gets $5 cash per person. Um, so the positions matters. Third place matters. Still get a little bit of money. Um, and please sign up because we have a little bit less than 18 people. We need a little more than 18 people to have a successful tournament in case people don't end up showing up
I thought you
at the
have.
last minute.
I thought it's 6 teams, right?
6 teams.
Okay, yeah. If needed, I will be maybe there. I don't want to say with certainty yet, just because I'm not exactly sure. But if I am around and you need the +1, I'll be. I may be around. Um, CJ, have you signed up?
I've signed up for both.
Nice. Are you planning to play quarterback this upcoming tournament?
I don't know. I'm down for anything.
Okay, I would say like if like if you haven't decided yet, I would say definitely probably any experience you can get at quarterback if that's something that you might want to play next season, that it's a great opportunity for you to play. And then
Especially in
second.
a competitive setting.
Yeah, different teams and stuff like that. And also, you could just see potentially where you stack up. But again, I don't know who the other quarterbacks of this tournament is. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for reps, it could be a good way to get those in. And my real question I wanted to ask you, CJ, was, do you have a fall drink, whether it be a coffee-ish drink or like a alcoholic autumn drink?
A fall drink. Seasonal, so not really. I guess it would probably be like some kind of pumpkin spice thing. Maybe but I'm not a latte guy, so I like my coffee black. I don't put anything in it. I just like how it tastes. And
You should try the drink that Lem suggested for myself if you're into the cocktails. I think Lem last week suggested me to have this um, apple cider, cinnamon. What was the main drink alcohol in it? I forget.
So
But
it's either whiskey or rum, but
okay,
the point is to have it warm. Apple cider,
mm,
cinnamon stick, some cinnamon powder on top, um, and then whiskey or rum.
that does sound good. I might have to concoct that for myself.
Yes, it's very good.
yeah. And then after that episode, Doug suggested I have this chai latte. I don't know if that is an autumn specific drink, but he suggested it, so I may give it a shot. I tried Lem. I don't know if this is a fall drink, but probably like one of those Starbucks whatever drink. But I had a apple crisp iced espresso drink this morning, and it was not my cup of tea. It was.
Oh no,
It was.
like those things are. I have a bone to pick with it. So I always try like every year. I'm always pissed off at it. It's like it like kind of tastes okay for like a sip, but then
Hmm.
like it has like this weird aftertaste. It like lingers in your palate, and like you can't keep drinking it because like the that bad flavor like keeps compounding. Apple in coffee like doesn't go like that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I
Like
can't
this.
say I've ever had those two together.
I'm don't worry, CJ. I'm like you, where everything's black on most days, but sometimes I will order this random flavored drink just because I don't mind any. I enjoy my bubble teas, right? And so I figured why not try a Western iced coffee of some sort, and sometimes it's a hit, and sometimes they're missed like this morning.
Quick question. So CJ, you said you usually like to have your coffee black. Does that mean you're any part racist?
Oh my goodness!
I'm just kidding, dude. I'm
Oh
just
Uh,
kidding.
no!
no, no, I love it. What a segue.
I know. I did not see that coming, CGI. Oh my goodness. This guy's about to derail the episode before it even begun, man. Um, but
I wasn't there for all that. I'm just recency memes. That's all.
all right. Let's get down to the real questions, CJ. I apologize for my co-host there. CJ, so recently you played your showdown against Jeff. Um, how did you think that game was going in the moment and post game? Like, what are your thoughts on the matchup itself and if it changed anything about Jeff?
Hmm. Um, okay. Well, in the moment, I was struggling. In the moment, I was struggling for sure. Um, and I don't know. I probably, even though I was struggling and I was aware of it, it wasn't like in any kind of negative way. Like I think I was positive the entire time. I think I could have probably communicated more on defense. I think on offense we did fine. Um, so yeah, in the moment, I felt like we were really in the game the whole way until that cutback that Lemnos caught from their red zone. That was apparently a punt, and then Jeff told him to go to the right. So that's classic Jeff right there. And yeah, so
Which play
even
Yeah,
though I
my
was like nervous, I felt good.
okay. Now, do you know what this cutback play is? I actually did the stats this morning, so I remember certain plays, but the red zone, you're saying red
no,
zone in
it
their
was
own red
the
zone. Gotcha.
it was the fourth down. It was like fourth and like 15 or something like that, and it was like I don't know, the second to last drive of the game for us, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, okay.
Um, Jeff was backed up on our end zone. And I was like, all right, so like let's like do like a punt, or like you could throw it up late and then we'll let them intercept it, or like anything like that, and like run around, waste some time, and then punt it.
Hmm.
But no, like the play happened. I'm like running because you could tell I'm running to where the punt
Hmm.
goes. And then he's like, oh, go to it, and then I like click at the last second, and then he throws it.
Okay, okay, I know what play that was. So, yeah, it was a cutback, as you guys are all aware. I think CJ had a chance at blocking it. I think it was still blockable, right, CJ? But I think Lem just got a favorable early spawn, I think,
Yeah,
and that
Lem made
worked
a
out.
great
Yeah.
catch. And you asked, in retrospect, how did I feel about it? I think one of the things that might have changed maybe some things was I was playing on cartoon mode the whole time. Um, but I mean, like I don't know if if maybe I would have understood I needed to come back to the ball more there if I just saw the shuttle how it regularly is or something. I don't know, but that's just I was playing on cartoon mode, whatever that means. And and yeah, in retrospect, I think my defense was the reason we lost that game. I think my like worst play was definitely the slant in the end zone where I literally just like checked out. I think that was pretty uncharacteristic of me, and yeah, that was just totally my fault. But like some of the jump balls, like the one Mooten had on me, I felt like that was unlucky. Maybe cartoon mode, I would have played it differently. I don't know, but I just felt like that was a jump ball on me that Mooten got, and then the jump ball that Lemnos got on me was a great catch. Yeah, I could have blocked it there too. So I think it was a close game.
Yeah, well, it definitely was pretty close. And then I think I think we've all realized everyone that has had cartoon mode and played Blitz, they like everyone says like it's not really playable because the spawns like just look different. So it makes catching, especially jump balls, like way harder.
Were you
That's why
surprised?
we got a rematch, Wayne. We got to do our jump ball rematch when I'm not 10 beers deep on cartoon mode.
I'm more than happy. However, I didn't ask you to play in cartoon. I didn't ask you to drink. I will still play you, CJ.
True,
I
true.
think from my own perspective, I just think that we have to go through the order of things here, which is, you know who played that night. You know who you have to jump over, and then I will gladly play your game. But I just think that we have to go through the ranks as UFC fights would do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds fair to me. And I will say that I just haven't seen you really play wide receiver much, but in the game we played last night, I was on the shuttle and I was playing pretty badly, I think. But to your credit, you were making some like pro moves as the wide receiver and jump balls. So, I think you're better than I originally thought you were. So I'll be ready next time.
I'm glad. Perspectives change when I'm on a different unit. But yeah, I think there's a few people that I think most quarterbacks that play quarterback, they're still able to play receivers. You just don't see many chances like that. So I do understand your perspective. If you never see me play, you never see me play quarterback and all that stuff. And I don't hold anything against it because how would you know, right? So yeah. Anyways, if you climb through the ranks, looking forward to a potential jump ball rematch. Um, One thing I wanted to still talk about the game against Jeff was. uh, we all know that like aside from that fourth down catch and those defensive miscues that you may have had, were you surprised that Jeff was able to still put up 31 points against you guys, against you had Dan and you had Doug's who aren't no slouches on defense, right? So were you impressed by that? And then yeah, sorry, just you yes, that you
Hmm.
can answer that one first, I guess.
Okay, yeah, yeah, and just I know you already wrapped this up nicely. I got to loop back though, loop back real quick before I answer that. Um, the only person I got to beat before you is Wick, right?
Sure. I was also
Okay,
thinking,
okay,
perhaps either Ocho or Prism or Irv, one of
okay.
those guys. But I don't. Yeah.
No, that's fair.
If
I
you could do
accept
Wick,
that.
that's fine as well.
Wick plus one of those guys.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay, so for Jeffster, yeah, there was one play that really I think impressed all of us, which was his rotate offense play, and obviously there's a clip of it, and we did call a defense on that play, which was I forget exactly what the defense was, but I know that I was responsible for deep on that play, and they they rotated and they both went deep, and I took the shorter deep, and I think Rard was playing. I think his role was some kind of short, um, but they ended up both going deep, and I took the wrong deep, and it was just a good play. It was like just a really good play call and good execution by Young. I think that was the best play of the game from him. So he can definitely he's not bad. Like I don't think I've ever said that Young is bad. I want to see him at his best, and that's the thing. And what I was hoping to do with this game was to beat him and show him that he's not at his best, and he can't just come in like Steve McQueen, as Kite so eloquently put it,
Yeah.
and and just carry the game. But you know, that's So will I see changes in Jeff after this game? I don't know. Maybe with the whole Russell Wilson and him accepting that, maybe. But I think he's probably happy with where he's at right now. So
I would agree. I think he's probably on cloud nine after that. But you know, I think he still has a lot to prove in the league. I'm also on your side where I want to see him at his best. He hasn't showed us his best at all in season one or two. So yeah, I'm curious. Like you said, Kite elegantly put it best. Um, he is that he's like on the fence of being a quote unquote pro, but he is. We're all older in life now, and we got things to do. And Jeff has a family, so uh, I I don't expect his availability and things to change, but I would like to see him play at his best. Um, and we have to give a shout out to Lem, who I I heard about the four touchdowns then in the game, and doing the stats also painted another picture of a lopsided thing. It looked like Jeff went from throwing 100% of his targets to CJ to 100% of his targets to you that game. Lem, how was the game for you? And I think you blitzed. Did you wait? No, Sheep blitzed.
Yeah.
Blitz CJ. So how was it on coverage facing a new quarterback in CJ?
um, so CJ was playing extremely disciplined, um, and props to him. He was getting the ball out, and good timing and stuff like that, and doing a good job of like not getting destroyed by Mutan. But Jeff is unique to cover with. Um, I mean, I don't know what it was like when you were playing throughout the season, but like when Jeff is saying stuff, sometimes I'm just like, no, Jeff, we're doing cover two here. Um, and I'll like kill plays if they need to be killed, or if he tries calling something like too late. Um, I'll like this like definitively call out like, hey, I'm getting deep, or you are getting deep. To like make sure we have like those established responsibilities, either before the play is snapped or like a couple seconds after the play is snapped. So I think that might have helped us stay grounded. Is basically just making sure Jeff doesn't do unexpected things in coverage. But that's not to say he, still doesn't do silly stuff. There was one where like one play is like, I got deep, and then he got beat on a post. So that kind of stuff still happens. But I think we played pretty good. I think CJ only had one interception. Is that right, Wayne or
Yep.
CJ? If you guys know.
Yeah, we usually won at the end of the game.
Yeah, that was at the very, very end of the game.
Oh, it was that one? Okay. Yeah, so that was good.
The other one was a turnover on downs early in the game. I think I think both, like, I think CJ started off with a field goal miss, and then when you guys had the ball, Jeff turned the ball over on 4 downs, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, that was on the defensive side. The offensive side, I think Young is a big chemistry player and like momentum player.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if he's seeing like certain things are getting open to certain players, he's just gonna like, I don't know if it's on purpose, but it's just or it's
It just
natural.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it just like I end up getting more of the calls. Maybe it's like, I'm short and medium and Mutan's deep and they're covering deep every play, so he only ends up with friggin' 27 yards for the whole game. Like I feel so bad for Mutan. It must have been so boring for him. But thank you for sticking with it, Mutan, and you played great on defense.
Jeff
Um,
goes with who he trusts, who
yeah.
he feels he has chemistry with.
Um, so it worked out for me for my stats. Unfortunately, they're not gonna, matter for any season, but I mean, you can see what I could do on offense. I'm not just a defensive minded player. I can still do stuff on offense once in a while. And I made some difficult catches, some hard adjustments, some good routes, and I'm here to ball.
Feed him the
Yeah,
ball.
Lemnos might be. What is Lemnos the most complete tier 2 player? Wayne?
Um, can you give me some other names of T2 at the moment?
Ocho,
TO? Ocho?
Yo.
Um, Lem is for sure a complete player. So even what I'm about to say, Lem is definitely a complete player, and I think he's probably the best defensive player amongst the T2s. I think if we're all thinking about the same T2 guys, I think I will have to give it to Ocho as the complete because I think he's the most balanced. Like I think his offensive defense to me is relatively equal, and I'm looking at a perspective of balance, right? I think Lem is like, if I were to say Ocho's 50-50 offense defense, I think Lem is like a 70-30, right? And it's not knock,
Hmm.
like I just think that Lem is definitely more impactful on defense as well. I just think that when my interpretation of the all around player, I think I would give that one to Ocho.
I think you're right. I agree. And also, Ocho's quarterback is on higher level than Lemnos's.
Yeah.
I actually,
Uh,
yeah, I think Ocho's quarterback is definitely not bad. I see more of Lem's QB as of recently and from season one. So I will say that Lem's quarterback is actually very underrated. I think there are times when it can be a little bit predictable and tight for Lem. However, I do think that Lem's quarterback has grown quite rapidly in the last was a couple months. Well, not couple months. I guess like this whole year, Lem. But I think your progress is better than some, I would say.
Damn right.
But anyways, yeah, I agree with you, CJ, as well. That Lem is definitely a complete. I would actually maybe as to go as far as saying he's either second or third on that list, but I'm thinking more on the
oh, for
balance of
sure.
50-50.
Yeah, no, I think it's in that. I think it's Ocho first, and then Lemnos, and probably then To, right? Who else can play all three roles
I think Wick can
in
as
tier
well.
two?
Wick can as well. And I think all of, like, I'm sure all, like, they're all T2s for a reason as well, right? So I'm sure all of them can are balanced players, but yeah,
I
I
think
think
To's defense is better than Wick's though. It's more wouldn't you say? It's more consistent.
it's tough. I think they both have their days, like I think I'll say this. I think Wick is more how would I describe it? I think when Tony's on, he's really on and he's on at the T1 level, right? Whereas Wick is just consistently top level T2, you know what I mean? But Tony has his moments when he's playing offense or defense at a very higher level.
I think I play really good defense when I know when I play like who I play good defense with. For some reason, I feel like I'm usually at the best of my game defensively when I'm playing with Lemnos or To. Um, I haven't played enough with Ocho, but like then every now and then you play with someone and it's like you have anti-synergy on defense, or you just have to like play more together to understand how you play together. Like I know Prism hates playing defense with me. Obviously, um, there are a lot of players in the league, but I've just always like felt comfortable playing with defense with Lemnos and To.
I think like an underrated skill, in my opinion, is also being adapting to other players, right? Like if you play defense only one way and you expect the other person to cover exactly like you, then of course there's gonna be judgment made there, right? But if you're able to adapt to other players, which I think Lem does a good job of doing, is why he is so good defensively. You know what I mean?
I
Um,
agree. I think Lem is like absolutely cracked on defense. Like I don't think there's any so just defensively, I don't think there's a better all around defensive player. Like even as good as he's been on offense, if you're giving Ocho the edge on offense, I think Lem is just like the best complete defensive package in the
and
league.
and we're talking about whether he's blitzing or in coverage. And to that point, I will agree. I will also agree. I think
But
that
Wayne's only agreeing because I have his number.
that is also very true. And he's also got a move named after him. So um, yeah, I have to give the guy props if he's got a legal move named after him.
The Lem hop. Yep.
Uh,
Um, Lem, uh, I guess let's ask you: do you think you are the most complete T2 player, and should you be recognized as a T1 instead?
nah, I think I would need to improve a good amount on offense. I think one thing that separates the P1 players is that they can like even if they're not the best QB or they're not the best wide receiver running back, they're usually like top 7 in both or something like that. So I think I would need to get I have to get my QB skills up to snuff, and then two, um, I would need to showcase a more efficient or stronger offense. I still like can't juke. I don't know if I'll ever be able to juke in my life. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe give it a season. Maybe I'll be up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know. I hate to say it too, but I also don't know if you'll be able to get there in the juking level. But I think if you fix your habits of like you just scrolling and not looking at one side of the screen, if you, and let me I know you know what I'm talking about. Then perhaps you will actually be able to juke people if you actually see where people are tackling you from.
I think if
Um,
Lemnos suddenly just was able to juke like he was a top tier juker like Dan is, he would immediately become tier one.
I will say I've seen it in recent pubs. Lem has been actually trying to juke, and I've seen some improvement. I think he's just now being more consistent and still being more explosive in that area. But Lem, I have seen some improvements as of late.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. guys. So, I mean, CJ or Lem, if you have any final thoughts on that showdown match, I do think it was entertaining, but I don't have any more questions about that particular game. So, if you guys have any final thoughts, let's hear it.
I don't
I
think
just want to say I didn't throw a single cutback that game. I know I already said it, but
yeah, you know that the cutbacks that happen for Jeff aren't really called. They just like happen. The Wraith moves or like someone doesn't go to it and they go to it late, like
it's
stuff
to
like
be
that.
expected. It's to be expected, but there were like I'm pretty sure there were around five or six that game. So that's a lot. That's a
So,
lot.
so
That's it.
I'm just gonna jump in here saying that for most QBs, I would 100% agree with what you said, Lem. But unfortunately, Jeff does not get that pass in my books. Man can set up, play deep, and then 3 seconds later move it backwards. That is him designing a cutback, just disguising it in 3 seconds. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would not give Jeff a pass on his cutbacks on those ones. But for most 80% or 90% of QBs, I definitely would give them that pass. Anyways, yeah, it was a great game, entertaining game. CJ, I guess my last question to you about this is, if you w- if you were able to get a rematch, well, let's first off, would you want a rematch against Jeff? And B, if you did get a rematch, would you change up your lineup in any shape or form, but you still have to be the QB?
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting to rematch Jeff in season 3, so it doesn't need to be a showdown match, but I'm expecting it to happen in the season, and we'll have to see what the teams look like. I still have no idea what the draft's going to be like, or who I'm going to be able to take, or even if I'm captain, right? That hasn't been decided, so we'll have to see.
Fair enough. Yeah, I also will say I don't know what the captains are, but I think that I will be more on the favor of seeing this rivalry be part of season three, especially since that most new QBs will be participating in this one. So I think, yeah, if anyone should get a chance, why not yourself? Anyways, we'll let,
Really quick,
yeah,
um, since we're talking about season 3, I didn't put this in the announcement in the beginning. Uh, Captain signups for season 3 are closing on the 13th of September. That's Friday of next week, the day before the tournament. The intention of that is so that we can decide and announce the captains um, by the end of the tournament on likely the 15th because our tournaments usually spill out into the next day. So please continue to sign up, especially if you want to be a captain for next year to put your name in the running to be a captain.
yes, thank you,
I will
Lem.
say that when I signed up, I checked everything. So, I think that we can learn from the triple T model. And if we can get a team where everyone gets to play and they could play any role, any game, it keeps the opponent on their feet. So, I'd like to do something like that.
That
Yeah,
would be good. I think some people want to just not QB because it's pretty harrowing and stressful and taxing. So some people just don't want to want any people. Some people don't want their captains to force them to QB because
Yeah,
they're
no, no,
year
no.
one or whatever.
I'm not going to force anyone to play anything they don't want to. But I think it'd be fun if we can rotate roles and, maybe I'll get a wide receiver game in, um, or, quarterback game here. Maybe I'll fucking bench myself a game. Who knows? Like, I like that ability to keep the opponent on the edge of their seat, not knowing what the starting lineup is going to be.
I agree.
It's a cool strategy.
Um, So I know you said you're not going to lock yourself into any position, and I do agree with that kind of thought process. But my question was wanting to ask you, CJ, is since the end of season two, we've seen a lot more reps at you at quarterback. How's that training or reps going for yourself? And what has been the easiest and most challenging thing as you've been transitioning to quarterback?
Hmm. Um, it's going good. It's going good. I think the most challenging part is definitely actually it used to be scrambling, and it still in part is scrambling. So there are two really challenging parts to quarterback actually. Three. It's a very challenging role. Okay, because there are a lot of things challenging about it. Maybe I'll start with what I think is easy, which is the timing. I think that generally, as long as I'm focused, I'm paying attention, nothing crazy is going on in my mind, like I'm having a good day. I think my timing is quite good. Like I think it's as good as any of the tier one quarterbacks. Um, so that's probably the easiest part for me. Um, the I also think I'm pretty good at reading the defense when I'm patient. Um, as long as I'm patient, I think that reading the defense is pretty easy for me. Um, but the most challenging parts are definitely so I'll start with the mental fortitude part. Like having mental fortitude, because when I get sacked and I lose 5 yards, Krusty actually pointed this out, and he was correct about this. Is like when I get sacked, like I'm immediately like suddenly on the back foot, and I'm like just kind of frazzled. So the mental fortitude part of quarterback is very different than a wide receiver needs. So the other challenging part I'd say is the playbook, both the playbook and the role patterns. So Dan has been helping me out with role patterns. Prism has also given me some advice, but like it's really challenging to understand how much I can affect the defense based on my movement as a quarterback. And it's definitely an aspect of the game that I'm learning more about. And I think once I understand it better, I'll just be a more complete player from any position. Because it's it's something like I can really lead the defense to the wrong spot or the right spot depending on how I roll and how I move. That's pretty difficult. And then the maybe the most difficult or just as difficult part is the playbook, coming up with plays and practicing them and refining them. And like I really want to add some new plays to the game. Obviously flood offense is one I've coined, and maybe it's a bit memey, but I like it. And but also coming up with like more complicated or interesting plays. So I just adding dimensionality to my playbook is challenging.
I I agree, and a lot of the points you brought up, I would say that's good that you're learning it at that. Especially this QB scrambling, because I do remember early on your scrambling would slow down and basically just allow a sack because the play was covered or whatever it was. And then, yeah, reading defenses is important. In addition to all those things that you said, I think the only other tips I could give you and take them however you like is decision making. I know you enjoy the idea of a jump ball, but however, sometimes jump balls. Can increase probability of turnovers. And we all know that in the game of blitz, winning that turnover battle is usually quite key to the game. And then number two is play calling. I think it's good that you have plays in your pocket. I know that you have more than just the flood offense that you mentioned. Um, when you have certain plays, it's knowing when to call them, when to use
Mm-hmm.
them,
Yep.
in addition to how to prevent it so that the defense easily reads your plays. Meaning, and this goes back to you saying your role patterns are important. Your role patterns most of the times need to coincide with the right play call, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like a puzzle. Like right now I've got some of the pieces, I'm missing others, and sometimes I put two together and they don't fit, and it ends up being a horrible play. But I'm just trying to figure it out. And like you mentioned, another thing mechanically that's the most challenging is the deceleration of the shuttle. I mean, you saw it last night when I was playing defense with it. There were so many balls that I let up just because I decelerated, and yeah, I've just got to keep clicking. Like I've got to get my APM up and just keep clicking like a fucking madman because that unit is different. It moves very different.
Yes, that is correct. I think that's why back in the day, or even to this day, if the opposing team, offensive team is attacking any particular unit, it's likely the shadow.
Yeah.
Lem, do you have any tips for CJ's QB progress? Because obviously you also learned earlier this year, so you have any quick pointers or tips you could share with CJ as well?
So I'm not too great at a lot of things. I think the play calling variation is important because I remember, I don't know if this was like last week or something, like you were like literally only calling like floods and misdirections.
Yep.
And it makes it very easy to cover because like, oh, if it's a post, then it's gonna be a misdirection, or if it's like someone's doing a quick 90, then, or sorry, not a misdirection, a flood. And if someone's doing a quick 90, then that's gonna be a misdirection to the other side. So definitely the play variation is important. Um, I think it's also I've struggled with this a little bit too in the past. Is like if it's like a third and long, like you just want to like throw the ball deep down the field, and then like it's covered, but you're also like scrambled 20 yards back, and you end up just throwing like a super late and deep jump ball. It's not helping. It's not even really that fun for the both teams. Even if you do end up getting like a big gain or a touchdown, and you end up winning the game on it, like it doesn't like feel good because it's just like a 50-50 kind of chance. It's probably better to try to come up with a good play or unique play and like developing the skills even if you end up losing the drive. So definitely try to come up with stuff to actually get some yardage. Maybe even make it like a fourth and short. And then the other thing I gotta improve on still too is like not not slowing down because I think it's how I click. And Wayne mentioned it earlier. Like I click like away, like I move away from my unit and I click, and then I don't really know where I am, and then I end up slowing down because I wasn't clicking far enough away. But you might have a different problem where you're not clicking enough. So it's just important to make sure you're around your unit, clicking far away enough, and keeping your acceleration up.
I like, yeah, far away enough because I think that is probably part of the problem is I click too close to the unit sometimes
Yeah,
and
that's a
that
huge.
decelerates it.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of happens with the running back too. There was one stupid play in the playoffs where like I must have clicked too close and my unit like almost didn't even move with the running back. I was like, what the hell just happened? And I ended up giving up an interception because of it. Um, but yeah, it's important to make sure, especially at QB, that you click far away enough.
With the short plays, I think one thing that I really want to start doing more consistently and get better at is like calling audibles at the line and using the running back on hashes and donuts and sidelines to move the defense and then make a play like once I like what I'm seeing, kind of like Peyton Manning almost. But like I've been doing that in the red zone, and when I'm patient with it, like it's worked. I think it's I think it's really good. I like it. So that's something I want to do more of, and maybe I could even do it down the field.
That'd be interesting to see. I can't really envision it, but when we're in a game together, describe it more and we can play around with it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't
Yep.
wait to hear the Omahas.
Yeah,
uh,
maybe Omaha just means running back, run sideline now. I'll add that into the game.
or like Omaha just
Blue
means run,
42, come back to the donut.
or Omaha just means running back. Just get to one of the hashes. I don't care. The play's not even. It's not even for you. Just run to the hash. um,
There it is.
Okay, CJ, as you've been learning QB, um, obviously it's mainly in pub games these days. Are there any players that stand out in terms of that you seem to have good chemistry with, or you really enjoy playing with them so far? If this gives away your potential draft board, then feel free not to share. But I'm just curious if you've been developing some type of chemistry with any particular players so far.
New players?
Like anyone, like any players that you enjoy playing when you play QB.
When I play quarterback, oh well, for sure. When I play quarterback, Dan and Duxer, the guys who I played with, and also Lemnos. I think it was actually to my detriment that we played pub games together in my offense, and then I went against him. But those three players for sure, and also Wick. I feel like those four players have been able to just really make my offense look better than it is. So shout out to those guys.
Cool. Um, okay, I think I have maybe one more topic really, Lem, that I could bring up, but I want to give you and CJ maybe a chance to, bring up any topics you guys wish to talk about first.
So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit for we're talking a lot of blitz, a lot of strategy, a lot of technical stuff.
Okay.
So CJ, you like to do all these random lists and chat GPT and like, the someone else in the league might have been the serial lister, but now it seems like that mantle might have passed to
Has it?
you.
Oh no.
I don't know. I mean, you might be like the current serial lister. Maybe there's multiple serial listers. But anyway, to get into better understand the man, the mind and the soul. So like, what drives you to make these lists?
The man, the mind, and the soul. um, hmm. I think so. I'd say it changes, but I'd say it's like 80% of it is uh I'd say most recently actually like 100% for fun. Like actually, like nowadays, any list I make, well, maybe not. Okay, I'd say like 80 to 90% of the time it's for fun, and 10 to 20% of the time there's a bit of a competitive aspect to it, where maybe I saw a list where I didn't like where I was rated in it, or I didn't like what tier I was in, or I just felt like it was completely ignorant or crazy, and so I've got to come back with a list of my own.
All
But
right, that makes
I'd say
sense.
mostly for fun.
Gotcha. All right. I was thinking like, and you might not even be aware of this because this is, you are living in your moment and you're not thinking about yourself. You're just doing what, your spirit tells you. But from the outside, you like doing these like stats things. You like analyzing the stats. You like making these like lists. Everything is a very kind of like organized format. So maybe it's just like your
That's just kind of
your
how I am, actually.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I just that's coming out in other facets um of this server. So you're putting out like stats, you're putting out uh lists, you're putting out fun lists. So I think after this podcast, I think we might all understand you a tiny bit more.
And that's good. I think that's been a goal of mine, actually, coming back into the community and with the voice chat and everything. I think I've kind of had to shed a lot of the perceptions players have had of me from I felt like I came back into the community already with like an image of me, that people have had. And yeah, I just hope that I've been able to show more of who I am, and not who Young's CJ is. And whether people call me CJ or DT or whatever doesn't really matter to me. But you know, I'm glad that I've gotten to show more of who I am.
I will make a light-hearted joke here and say I definitely see a more CJ side of you than yours before. But I think, yeah, I think this, well, everyone coming back and going through these uh, nightly voice games and discussions and chats, you really get to know them a little bit better. So, um, yeah, it's all been very entertaining to get to know each and every one of us in the community. Um,
For sure.
oh wait, about those lists, I wanted to ask you, CJ, of all the lists that you created and with respect to like comparisons, does any of them, anyone stand out as your favorite so far?
My favorite list. Let me go to media because
I think the,
I
yeah, go ahead.
what were you gonna say?
I was just thinking the ones off the top of my head I can think of has been like the animal ones, the Dragon Ball
Oh,
Z, the StarCraft comparison ones.
oh, for sure the DBZ one. The DBZ one is easily the best one. I think the Harry Potter one is pretty good, but yeah, I think the DBZ one takes the cake. I mean, it's just like it was a moment of genius by ChatGPT, and it's just amazing. I mean, maybe there are a few questionable things like Lemnos as Raditz, but it's kind of funny. Um, but
Right, yeah.
yeah, I don't
I,
know. The DBZ one is pretty gay and great. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what other ones we can come up with, and I want to see. I'm sure we can come up with something better. I don't think it's like it's not the pinnacle yet, but so far that's my favorite.
I think I would agree. I think Dragon Ball Z was the funniest one to me. However, I remember that one night when you did a whole mock season three scenario and outcome based AI prompt where you put everyone into different teams and let the games simulate. And I thought that was
Yeah,
pretty funny as well.
yeah. It was the champions were Money, Wick, and who was their running back?
I don't recall. I don't
I don't
recall.
remember either. Yeah, but
But yeah,
they were the champions.
Lem, do you have a favorite list of AI?
I don't know. Um, I don't know if I really have a favorite. I think the DBZ one is the most iconic. Um, yeah, I think I just go with the DBZ one.
Right on. All right. CJ, I just have one more topic to bring up, and then the floor is yours if you want to bring anything to the play as well. We were talking about obviously a couple weeks back, you had started the initiative of doing this tier list, and we appreciate that. And I can tell you that um, we are working behind the scenes to kind of come up with more official ones, but yours is the starting point or the foundation for how things are looking. So with that said, I just want to get your thoughts, both of your thoughts here. Um, are there anybody that we left off T1 that you think should get some recognition for it? Like, or are they just truly just knocking on that door of T1? I'm just curious, on both of your thoughts there.
I'll go first. So I think that you guys already know this, but Ocho for sure, I think is a tier one player. Um, I think it's kind of silly to make him tier two. I think even if you go back to our what we were talking about earlier, we all agreed he is the most complete tier two player. He can pretty much play every position at a high level, and I don't know. I think he's shown that he's clutch. He wins games. I don't really know why he wouldn't be tier one, other than maybe his goofy personality. Um, and I mean, when you look at I don't know, when you just look at the other tier two players, I do think that Ocho. I don't think anyone else is tier one other than Ocho.
Fair enough. Lem, do you agree, or is there anyone else that you would put above that for T1?
I don't know. I could see Ocho there. Um, I think if we were playing like I think if we were playing like Madden and Finn had the game that he had in the Super Bowl, I think that would have been like negative stat modifiers to actually push him out of T1. Um, and that coupled with the fact that he hasn't been playing as much, um, I think maybe his skills are subsiding compared to many of the other players, and that also might happen with Irv too, because he hasn't really been on.
I
Um,
will go ahead.
oh no no, so I was trying to think of anyone else that could be uh, officially T1. I think Tony's receiver and his defense is really good, but his QB is kind of in a similar scenario to me where it's not quite up to snuff with the rest of the T1s. Um, so yeah, I think the only one that can have a chance would be probably be Ocho.
And I'll agree that I think all of the tier one players are accurate. Although if we were gonna drop anyone down to tier two, if we were, um, I agree that Irvine and Finn are probably the ones who would be. Like Lem mentioned, Finn might just be way better at running back than he is at quarterback. Like maybe he's a tier two quarterback, tier one running back. Does that make him tier one? I don't know. And then for Irvine, um, yeah, I'm not here to. I look. I'm just gonna say I think he's on the cusp. All right, whether you guys put him in tier one or tier two, I'm okay with it.
Yep. Okay. I know you don't mean to throw shade at Irv, and there's no ill feeling there, but I just am very curious. Like, what qualities makes you believe and push Irv down to T2? I'm just very curious about that.
Okay. Um, so I think Irvine is a very methodical player, but I think that if you can get in his head and frazzle him, he can fall apart too easily. And I haven't, I just haven't seen him be able to contend with that in a way that makes me think he's a tier one player.
Okay. Those are fair. Um, and also, like, you're definitely entitled to your own thoughts and your own description of what you believe Irv is. I'm actually, based on that answer though, like from my own perspective, it's quite interesting that you would say those things about Irv, only because I actually feel like he's none of that. Like, I don't think he gets frazzled. I don't think he does that. I think what hurts him sometimes when he plays QB is that he's a bit predictable when it comes to his play calling, and that's where I think his early 2000s, like back in the day when we were playing, I feel like those are the same plays he's running in the current meta of the game, which sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? Because they're quite predictable.
So
I actually.
we're saying
Mhm.
I think we're saying the same thing in a different way, but finish your thought. Sorry.
Oh, okay. And the person that when I think of being frazzled amongst the T1s, actually, I feel like Dan comes to mind only because I think he's like I think Dan is actually like a top three-ish quarterback. I just feel that he's the one that gets frazzled, and that's where the mistakes happen. And I think he knows that he has a tendency to icon out of either desperation. I think his if there's a decent blitzer on him, the scrambling starts to show its weaknesses at times, and then it gets flustered in with his play calling. So those are just my opinions, but at the end of the day, like we're all entitled to our own, and that's why I thought it was interesting of what you said about Irv there.
Okay, so let me. So I'm looking at this from. I obviously have the most experience as a receiver, and I'm looking at this really from that perspective.
Hmm.
Um, for I enjoy playing with like if Dan and I had a full season together, I honestly think that no one would come close to me in yards, touchdowns, anything, because I understand how Dan quarterbacks. I understand how he gets frazzled. Kind of like how there was that chemistry with Young and I back when we played all the time. Some receivers had no idea how to fucking play with Young, but I did. And I feel like that way with Rar. I know what gets him frazzled, and I know what I need to do and where I need to be and how I need to play in order to keep the train moving forward. And um and as long as we trust each other, like it's going to be interesting if Dan and I end up on the same team. But maybe he locks into running back anyway. But yeah, I think that I he's a very he's a very he actually here's what I like about Dan that I think that Irvine maybe doesn't do as much is Dan will throw those questionable icons, right? He'll throw those. That gives me an opportunity to make a play. Dan will and or be open for it or be ready for it because I know he might do that. Dan also so I can play into those tendencies. Dan also might you know well, anyway, that's just one example. But Irvine, I feel like you were saying his plays are predictable, right? I feel like once that play breaks down, then the opportunities aren't going to come to me as a receiver. Instead, it's like minimal loss, like and as a receiver, I might be trying to get open or do something to make a play or find a way to improv to the ball, but it's like I feel like that just kind of I think Irvine just shuts down the play too quickly sometimes.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I do well. This goes to most of the T1, T2 quarterbacks, I believe. We try not to create opportunities to turn the ball over, so therefore they hold it. But Lem, I want to ask you because you're also in that quote unquote learning QB phase, right? Would you take a sack, like a five five, but less than 10 yard sack, okay? Or will we throw the ball up? And this is not fourth down. We're talking about like first, second, third down.
Um, so I think it depends. If I think
Scores tied.
one thing I need to work on is like just establishing how I'm going to be playing with my players because like a lot of times I will want to throw a PP
Hmm.
even if it's covered so that it's blocked. Um, because I think it's more beneficial than getting a sack, especially if I'm out of position or I'm going to lose too many yards. But assuming that no one's going to the Wraith, I would be more comfortable taking a sack or trying to sneak to get a couple more yards to not get a huge sack.
Okay. Yeah. I do think it does come down situationally as well. So, yeah, I may more likely not to throw a jump ball or miss time like even though I know I'm going to miss time and I know I should get rid of it ish. I don't think I actually intend to throw jump balls, but I know I may throw tight passes anyways on first and second. But I have done in season one, for example, on I think it was Finn. I was fourth and whatever, and Finn made a great catch on Cutler, right? And so I think I did know I threw that ball up there. But anyways, yeah, I think it all comes down situationally, understanding your players. Do you have trust in them to, at worst case, block a pass, right? Because there's nothing more QB hates is a block. I mean, a pass is blockable, and they just drop the ball. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Sin. Shout
yeah,
out to the best tier 5 player.
yes, yes, the heaviest player amongst the community at the moment.
Oh my God, it's so heavy.
See, like I'm happy others are saying that and not just memeing him for it because he's one of a kind for sure. But okay, um, so we talked about players who are on the cusp or should get recognized for T1. Are there any other players, doesn't matter which tier at this point, that you think are a little bit more on the underrated side, as where they are listed currently amongst your that list that CJ provided? And I know we may not remember all of them, so you know I'll just take the easy one away from all of us is Smith, right? I don't think any of us truly think that he's a T5, T4. I'll say that he's, T2, T3, depending on is he been active or not. But is
Well,
there
that's
any,
where he's at right now. He's at tier 3.
yeah, but sorry, I guess where I was coming from was that I thought he was still at the T4 level, but yeah, I guess maybe we changed it. But is there any other players that we can think of that you think are underrated at the moment for the tiered label that they've been kind of put as at the moment unofficially?
There are a few. I mean, I'll say about Smith that I think tier 3 is accurate for him because um, obviously we know how at what he at that at a high level he can be a tier 1 player. And but he's not as active as before. I think he's probably closer on a good day to tier 2 right now. But I think he's got to prove himself, kind of like how I had to prove myself when I came back into the league and into the community, and maybe he does that in pub games. But I want to see a good season from him, and I think tier 3 is a good place for him right now. Like next season, we can move him up. These aren't forever. But I think Kite is. Oh man, honestly, but the names that do stick out to me are like Smith, Kite, Cutler. Um, I get Here's the thing. I think it's going to be the same answer for all of them. I think that it's actually pretty accurate, and I think the main reason for them being tiered where they are is that we haven't seen the consistency from them yet. And I think like what makes a tier 5 player a tier 5 player is like you need to know that you can consistently trust them to do at least the essentials, right? Like there's some times where Sin, for example, will just do something that's like egregious, right? And that's just something like a tier 3 player would never do. Kite, is kind of notorious for drops. And if he eliminated that from his game, I think he'd immediately go to a tier 3. So I think it's things like that. Like if they're just certain things that I think if they're tiered lower, I think it's not that they can't. It's not things that. It's not because of things that they don't do. It's more because of things that they still do that they haven't eliminated from their game. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Lem, do you have any additional thoughts on any other underrated players you may see on the current tier list?
I think CJ did a good job of covering mostly everyone. I think I think I think Sin can jump up to tier 3 if he gets more consistent, like he was talking about. Um, Sin does like a lot of really good stuff. He has like 90% of the time he has like a pretty good coverage, which is pretty rare for a newer player. His QB is also like weirdly good. I was really impressed with how he played. Um, I think MA would be up there, but he is taking a break or something. I haven't seen him in a while. He can. I forget if he's tier 4 or 5, but
Tier
he's
3.
someone that he is tier 3. Okay, then he should. I think he should stay there. I thought he was tier 4 or 5. In which case I would said he should be up to tier 3. Um,
And we got Intox, Blue Squid, and Ma all tier 3 with
gotcha.
Money and Bixby. I think Bixby. So I didn't play. Bixby didn't play this season. That might be the most underrated player though in the tier right now at tier 3. Just from what I've heard and looking at his stats from last season, and also having played against him in the Gen 1 tourney long ago, I think that guy might be underrated.
He definitely has potential as his QB of that Gen 1 tournament. I think T3, in my opinion, is a good spot for him just because of his activity level. I do think that if he plays more, he would. He has all the potential in the world. I would guess. But I would say he's like, if I were to compare, he's basically the T3 version of Lem. He's a great blitzer. He's a great blitzer offensively. Obviously, Lem knows what he's doing offensively, right? But it's Bixby is the one that I think needs a little bit more help layering and needs guy like direction on how to layer. But yeah, if he was able to gain more knowledge from that aspect, then he would definitely jump a tier, I'm sure. Okay, um, that's all I have for tiers. You guys want, did you, Lem, have we decided, or how has the voting been going for the, I know nobody wants to see two T1 players play together, but what about the T1 and T2s? Has there been any progress or one direction that that's leaning towards?
So the voting as it stands right now um, is saying that uh, 70% of voters think that a tier one and two tier twos should not be allowed to play on the same team.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I think the motivation behind or that people are probably seeing in these scenarios is we just had um, a repeat of the Super Bowl effectively. Um, and if you look at those lineups, Wayne and Finn, two tier ones, uh, ETP, um, Prism
Tier
tier
one, tier
one,
two twos.
Duxer and Ocho, two tier twos. And obviously, arguably, Ocho would be on the cusp of tier one anyway. But that's beside the point. But yeah, so trying to increase parity in our league or improve parity, and have some variation in how playoffs go and who ends up taking the championship home.
Fair enough. Um, yeah, whichever direction the league decides, for sure, that will be the writing on the wall. Personally, I I was never a fan of restrictions, but I understand the need for it. Um, I would if a T1 and two T2s are put together, would love to I guess where I'm coming from is I just want to see the teams play as best as they can, right? Whoever these players are. But again, if next season is shaping up to not allow two T2s and T1 together, then so be it. But I think the T1s at least would probably welcome it. I would think. But all right. The hmm, I was thinking of a question, but maybe I'll save it for the spicy end. So, okay, I'm gonna put a hold on my thought there. CJ, is there any topics you would like to get off your chest? Before you came on to this episode, we talked about it for like the days prior leading up to today, where a lot of the episodes, a lot of people have indirectly or directly taken shots at yourself. So, I said, and I told you this, that I would open the floor up to you if you want to, fire any shots back or bring up any topics of your own. You don't have to if you don't want to. I just wanted to give you your chance to say your piece if there's anything you want to talk about before we talk about the what if questions.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, why not? So I'll just start with Blue Squid. He hasn't even been on lately, but I just remember hearing his interview and he had a lot to say about me. Um, so I just thought it was funny listening some of the things he said, like how he was like trying to paint this picture where I was like obsessed with stats when I'm actually not a good player or something, and the stats are somehow like hymns for me or something, and uh, and that and that it's my way of denying uh, his perspective, which is apparently objective reality. But I would just remind Squid that he picked Popgun over me in the draft. So, uh, yeah, I don't know, man. I think stats are a pretty accurate general depiction of player skill, you know, or at least, if not skill, player accomplishments. And it's just crazy to me how many people want to discard that against me. And just I feel like even in the league with the offensive player voting and everything, there were so many times people said CJ said this, CJ said that, and then like started a fight and where I was defending myself. And again, maybe I don't handle it in the best way. Maybe I feed into it, but um, I mean, I think it's crazy that Krusty put me at 79, and I know he explained to me why he did it yesterday, but it's just like, uh, what are you saying then when, I mean, when you go on the site and you look at the rank one receiver, it's my name there. I have the most yards, I have the second most touchdowns, I have pretty much the highest statistics and everything. So, and I did it with a tier four and tier four players for most of the season. Is that right? So, I mean, what are we saying here? And yeah, I mean, people always want to make an excuse for like any time I have a good game, like but a lot of the times, you know, Jeffster didn't feed me the ball or Jeffster actually ended up hurting my stats. Like I would argue that the game against To's team was more of a detriment than anything to my stats, other than maybe the yardage. And I still don't think that was. I don't know if that was the most yardage I had in the game or not. But anyway, I think Wayne, you've led. I feel like you've been asking leading questions a lot, trying to get players to talk down about me. But you know,
I understand the leading part, but I'm just doing my job as, doing my job here. I don't know if I'm setting them up or for putting negative thoughts on you, but you can think that I just would like to say that definitely never had those intentions. But go ahead, if you could finish.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And I guess the last thing I'll say is Blue Skid was, and I think what a lot of new players maybe don't like is I get into arguments or something, or you know, sometimes when I'm drunk I can be boisterous or whatever, but maybe not pay attention to the game I'm in. Blue Squid said something like we had an argument about something, and then he said he like forgave me or something, and I was like, what the fuck did I even do to deserve or earn his to deserve forgiveness? Like, what did I do wrong? But so yeah, I feel like on that point, there's for some reason like a stigma on me, with some people just have this stigma on me, and I'm not really. It's kind of confusing to me, what I did to deserve it. But yeah, I mean, I'd say that's it. Like, I think as we all get to know each other more and understand when we're fucking around and when we're serious, and I know I have a tendency to be very intense sometimes, and and um, you know, I don't know. I would just say I think it's kind of funny and uncalled for the amount of judgment and misjudgments I've received against me. That's it.
That's fair. I appreciate your piece. Again, you're definitely like, I appreciate you like, wanting to stand your ground and saying your thoughts. I just wanted to share my 2 cents on that. I think as you've been more vocal, you've been more opinionated, and again, as you try to reshape the image that the Blitz community has on you, I think that's opened you up to be a target, and not a target like on the field. I mean a target on terms of the way that I think because I think Duck might have said this a few weeks ago, and I feel like it's pretty accurate. Where I think you see a game one way or a specific way, and a lot of us I think see it totally different, right? And because of your uh, I guess your personality of standing on your business, which is again, to me is that's respectable and and that's cool. I think because you stand on your business and it goes against the majority, that sets you up for being a target because they think that you're basically wrong in some scenarios, right? Um, but anyways, that's what I think is happening. I don't know. I definitely don't have any. Like I disagree with you a lot, CJ. Like you asked me some stuff during the season about like whether it be stats or process and stuff, and I told you that I see things one way, and more often than not, I think you had a different view, and that's fine, right? Like I said, at the end of the day, if this is like your system and your ideas, like at the end of the day, it's going to be what you decide on, right? So with that all being said, I think there's a lot of things that we don't see eye to eye, and that's okay. And like you said, you are trying to uh, stand on your business and stand on the things that you believe that you've accomplished in the Blitz world, and and that's okay.
But what do you mean? So what do you mean believe? Because there's no belief in it. I have. I mean, what are we talking about?
I'm sorry, I
Can,
need a
can,
specific thing. Like I'm just saying, like the way that you view the game it may be different than how some of the others view it. You know what I mean? I don't have a concrete example. I think I just remember Duck saying that, and a lot. I just go back to all some of the conversations where we had, where I also disagreed with some of the takes that you had, right? But that's just
Sure,
what
but
that's
here's
yeah.
something. So let me interject because here's something that you did agree. I remember you did agree with me on when I brought it up to you is if I had been on a winless team, I would have never even been put on the ballot for offensive player of the year. People would say like, CJ, how do you even expect to be on the ballot? You haven't won a single game,
Hmm. Right.
right? So I think that's my point is that there seems to be almost some kind of double standard, and I'm not trying to I really don't even want to try and that's not a double standard between me and Wick. That's a double standard I feel is between me and the rest of the league in general.
I mean, I don't have an answer to that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people are nicer to Wick because of Wick's, like Wick is a very patient guy. I think a lot of us would say that we never will, or we rarely ever see him have a ruin anyone else's day or say anything negative about them. So maybe he gets bonus points there. But again, to the question you're really asking is, I don't know. Perhaps that's happening, but at the same time, I don't know. I can't speak for others, right? I
Hmm.
definitely have my own thoughts and views, but I don't necessarily agree with what other people disagree with you as well, right? I just
Right. Well, you asked if I wanted to get anything off my chest,
yeah,
so I
yeah,
guess
yeah,
there it is.
yeah.
That's how I feel.
I agree, and yeah, you're more than welcome. Lem, did you have any thoughts on what we just talked about, or did you want to move into the what ifs?
And I think there's one thing I want to mention, and I think it's multifaceted. So you guys were talking about like maybe what's maybe one scenario that CJ might see stuff differently than some portion of the league or a couple other specific people or something like that. And that would probably be this like I think when we talked about like the stats with Squid on the podcast, and that some people put more stock in stats than others. Some people might put like just what they feel and like game tape so to speak, like playing pubs or actually reviewing tape on what they consider to be a top tier receiver. And when you have those scenarios, people are going to have their own uh, ranking or scoring system in their head, and they're going to apply more weights to different things. So you guys will like never be on the same page. So it's okay to like accept that, and it's just like it sucks sometimes, especially if like in your heart of hearts you think you're right. So it's
Yeah.
definitely tough. And then just one last thing about that.
Okay.
Um, it's like a lot of times some people might not agree with something in the community, and unfortunately, like the best we got right now is like just democratic process, and like we're gonna vote for things. So like ultimately, like you might believe you're the best receiver, and that's totally fine, and a lot of people might agree with you. But like ultimately, like some things like are just going to be up to a majority vote, and that has like other factors associated with it besides just game tape and stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I accept that. So, two things I want to respond to that about points you made. The first is about everyone has their own perspective, and I totally accept that also. I just think it was kind of funny how in the podcast Blue Squid was like presenting his perspective as objective reality. At least that's how he was tailoring it, and I feel like I don't think that's cool. But if Blue Squid wants to go out and say he thinks that so and so is a better receiver than me, or that he thinks I'm overrated because X Y Z, I mean, of course he can do that. Um, and of course he can also try and say that his perspective is objective reality. Also, I just think that's kind of crazy. But um, and
Yeah, I
then
don't
also to
remember him saying
disregard the
that.
stats or the tier system, which when you look at the tiers are like pretty much almost, I'd say they're like 80% correlated in an accurate way with just the statistics. So obviously statistics do mean something. Um, and and I have fun with them. I have fun with them. I think people think I like overvalue them or whatever. I honestly just, guys, I used to make Excel spreadsheets all the time as a gambler for like everything. I used to make them for video games. I used to make them for like, it's something I just enjoy. But the second thing you said, Lemnos, about the majority voting and stuff, yeah, I accept that also. I think I just wanted to say something about it, like oh fuck, what was it? What did you say?
Um, I had said that like it might not be the best scenario, but the kind of best thing we got right now is to have like majority votes, and that's gonna have um people's perspectives, not only for like stats and like film, so to speak, but like you know personality things that might go into like voting, and like it's at some degree a popularity contest for some polls.
Okay. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So I understand that, and I also wanted to say is that because I think you said maybe I believe I'm the number one receiver, and I'll say, look, you know, if Wick earned that title over me that season, and that's what the majority voted on, right? Like, I can accept that. Honestly, it gives me motivation to do better next season. I think that um I I think that you know I know I can do better, and I'm looking forward to doing better. And I don't think that there's a massive gap between me and Wick at all. So um So yeah, but I guess my point is just like, you want to make a top three wide receiver list or whatever, you know, even if you keep me out of it or whatever, even if you keep me out of the top five, whatever, like that's your opinion. But I just, I guess going back to what we were saying earlier, I just think some of the takes about me have been kind of crazy, but maybe it's just because people's impressions, they make like those first impressions of a person and they just stick. Those first impressions are the most important ones, and that's what they remember.
Yeah, this is a good segue into another thing I wanted to mention about all this. Um, Obviously you're a good guy and you have fun with a lot of stuff. And I think some people have recognized that they get a rise out of you with certain things, and they'll bring up things at certain times in certain ways. Um, and I know like a lot of times it is just BSing and whatever. But if they do end up like getting to you, it's like kind of like feeding the troll sort of thing. If you just stop, then they won't have any fuel to keep on egging you on.
You're 100% right. I'm getting better at it. I still need a lot of work though, but I've gotten better at it, I think, with Prism and Ocho. But
Yeah, no, it's been
yeah,
it's been good vibes, and I think we're all on better pages together, unlike the beginning of season 2. But yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that.
100%.
All right, guys, we are at the 1 hour and a half mark. So that means we are into our final segment, which is the what if questions, the spicy or not. It could be about Blitz, it could be about whatever you guys feel like. Um, so, CJ or Lem, did you guys want to kick it off? If not, if you guys need some time to think about it, I could open up the questioning.
I have a question if anyone else is not ready.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Um, so we talked earlier about the showdown that we had. Are there any other, like, I know we joked around like with a bunch of different showdowns, but like any other legit showdowns that we should see before the next season in either of your opinions?
So I'll go first because two came to the mind right away. One is the Tio versus Young one, just because um well I for me that's just because I would get a chance to play my primary role against Young uh and so that's a opportunity for me that I would take and love to have. But the other one I really want to see as a spectator is the rookie showdown matchup. I really want to see that one.
That would be a lot of fun. Is that the one where like everyone is a rookie or close to a rookie?
Yep. So it would be like Sin, Krusty, Ma, Intox, maybe not Blue Squid, Nito, and who else?
Hmm,
Who's
I
our
can't.
sixth rookie?
I don't know if he will qualify, but I wouldn't mind if Popgun or Sandman played in it as well.
Yes, yeah. Probably Sandman.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
like
that sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, I feel like at least Popgun had a lot of games under his belt, whereas Sandman, I think because of his own scheduling and season one fiasco, being traded and whatnot, yeah, I don't know if he has more than 4 games, league games under his belt. So it would be interesting.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. It'd be, we'd have no idea what to expect. The rookies would get a chance to really separate themselves from each other. And also, I'm just sure I just have no idea what to expect. I think we'd all be surprised and it'd be a good time.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like the rookie matchup. Would also like to see it, but I don't know if we're past that stage, or basically next season maybe the instead of a showdown will be a rookie QB league anyway. So maybe that's what we'll see. But yeah, besides that matchup, hmm, what other matchup would I like to see? It's tough. You know
Here's
what? Yeah, go ahead,
I have a
CJ.
suggestion. Did you see the most recent anonymous list?
No.
What if it what if I'll just say the players. What if it was like Wayne, Wick, Dan versus Prism, myself, and Finn?
Hmm.
Or you could substitute Duxer in for me because Prism would probably rather play with Duxer anyway. So like Prism, or it could be Ocho. And then it's just never mind. Never mind. Go ahead, Wayne.
I mean, it would be a good game, but I feel like the players itself is like missing, and who is the showdown really of? Is it just a collective effort, or key individuals of that matchup, right? Um, but yeah, like Hmm. Perhaps either a T2 showdown or a T3. Because we always talk about the T1s, and I think they get too much attention, honestly. So I feel like maybe perhaps a showdown match of all T2 or all T3 players may be worth interesting, and let them figure out the teams and the quarterbacks and whatnot themselves.
Okay, I've got to piggyback off that. So tier ones are out. A show match between Jeffster and Cutler.
Okay, I like that. And that was before you talked about that Dan one, CJ. I was thinking of Cutler versus Jeff as well. And I don't know if you noticed, CJ, but in season one or the night before the season one draft, uh, Cutler beat Jeff bad, and that is why Jeff decided to draft Smith in season one, because of the night before.
Wow.
So, many months have flown by, and you know, what happens if Cutler beats Jeff again? Will his confidence be shot again before season three? That would actually be entertaining for me as well to watch.
Let's make it happen.
That is true. Okay. All right. Um, Lem, did you have any showdown matches that you would like to speak up on? Otherwise, CJ, you could have our next question.
TJ's got the next question.
Okay. Do you have one in mind, Wayne? Because I'm not sure. Or that was Lemnos's question.
Yes.
Do you have one in mind?
If you need some time to think, I can spit one out.
Okay. Yeah.
Since
I
you're
need some
no,
time.
since you're known for mainly playing the wide receiver role, right? I want your thoughts about, because I think this goes back to a couple of days ago when you remember when we were talking about like being who could be a good receiver. The names that came up was Irv, myself, and Prism, etc. Like we know the specifics, but that's not where I'm trying to get at. I wanted to ask both of you guys if all the T1, quote unquote T1 players played wide receiver, not running back, wide receiver, which one do you think would be the best of that crop, and who would be the worst wide receiver of that crop?
Hmm. Wow. I have no idea. Actually, so this brings up we never had a jump ball contest, like an official jump ball contest. Maybe no one is interested in that, but so there are a lot of aspects to wide receiving, right? It's not just
Yes.
running a route, but it's knowing when to cut. It's understanding how to cut depending on the defense, depending on the lure, and something I'm still probably not that great at is understanding when to boost. Um, and then there's jump ball catching, which is my favorite part of it. Um, so I just haven't seen any of you guys do it enough to really make a judgment. Like it wouldn't be really fair. But I'd say, yeah, I mean, like I don't know, it wouldn't be fair for me to say when I just haven't seen enough. But like I've literally never seen Finn play wide receiver, so I guess he's at the bottom. Um, and then fourth, I guess I'll put uh who am I missing? Irvine, Prism, Wayne,
Dan.
Dan? I don't know. I guess I'll put Dan fourth.
Now we get to the
I don't even
interesting
really know
three.
why.
You know the funny thing is, CJ, I didn't even actually ask you to rank them. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the best and the worst. But since you're already on the number three, you might as well continue down this list.
Yeah, I guess I think I just like Dan better as a running back.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, and then three, I'll put Prism because I think Prism is also just better as a running back. And although I've noticed his wide receiver on defense. He's actually good. He's actually good on defense as wide receiver. Like playing against him when he's on the muta on defense, like he's he's really, really good. But on offense, I haven't really noticed anything amazing from him. So defensively great, offensively I don't really know. So we'll put Prism at 3.
Okay. So now it comes down to Irv and 9.
And I guess I'll have to put Irvine at 2. I think he's just a consistent, solid receiver. He understands how to run the routes. He understands how to play defense. He just does everything well at a high level. But I am going to give number 1 to you, Wayne, because I have actually seen you be able to do all of that and make the jump ball catches. So, congratulations.
I did it. I did it, Lem. I made it. I made CJ's list.
Another list to be made.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. Lem, again, you don't have to give me the list, but and also CJ, appreciate you giving us the full list. Would you change anything about that Lem? And remember, all I really wanted to hear was who's the best and who's the worst of that crowd.
I think, excuse me. I think Irv takes the number 1 spot for me.
Okay.
I think he, like CJ was saying, I think he's, just consistent and he plays it more often, I think. So I think I'd take Irv there. And then for the worst,
Just give it to me, Lem. Just say it.
I think it's gonna be someone that we all know and love. But I think it's gonna be Finn. I think he just
Oh,
hasn't played it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, you're too good, Wayne, unfortunately. But I think Irv's
ah,
better for wide receiver. But yeah, I think like I actually remember playing a couple of months ago with Finn, and he's like, I can't play wide receiver anymore,
mm,
and he's used to playing quarterback and running back.
mm.
So yeah, even just based on that, he's not up to snuff on wide receiver.
I know.
Yep, and I will say putting Wayne over Irvine was directly influenced by Wayne getting like 3 jump ball catches over my shuttle last night. So, but they were pro catches,
Hey,
like so.
don't forget, I also beat Wick in that jump ball contest. Okay, I also beat him 41.
That's right. That's right.
But anyways, you know how you were saying, CJ, that there's a lot more to wide receiver than jump ball, and so I will confess, and it's no surprise to Smith and others who've seen me play wide receiver for them. I will hike late. Sometimes it's my fault, sometimes it's not. Although nobody believes me, I will not read a play that's longer than six different words. Um, I just won't because I'm like I only call it two words, and you're calling six. I cannot read this. And so for those reasons, I would never. I don't think I'll put myself at number 1 anyways. But I think I know where I stand. But yeah, I think I have a lot of faults in my hiking for sure. Well, and reading ability. Um,
That reminds me, can Krusty run a W route?
does he know WRL? I feel like a lot of players
That's
these. I feel like a lot of QBs these days are calling it down up down or up down up. I mean up mid up or something.
so like those are the kind of things. There are a lot of nuances that once you play enough, you'll realize like there's stuff you just don't know. But Krusty, I guess, is someone who there's a lot of hype about. A lot of people would say he might be underrated in the tier list. So, um, where do you guys think that at the end of the season, he said he wants to, he said he will be a top 3 receiver. Um, where do you guys, if he's going to be wide receiver, um, where do you guys put him at the end of? I guess this depends on. Well, maybe it shouldn't depend on who his team is though, right? So where do you guys put him at? What's your projection for Krusty?
I
Um,
think he's gonna break top half of the league. I think he's improving at an exponential rate. Um, but I do think his defense is still suspect.
all right.
Okay, I'll go second. I think so. I think his defense has been improving. Um, for some reason, he seems to play defense better on the shuttle than the Muta. I don't know if you agree, Lemnos, but I've just found that he's played it better when he's on the shuttle than when he's on the Muta for some reason. Um, he
I don't
just
know. I
seems
haven't really noticed.
maybe it's just random, but he just seems to have pretty much been there most of the time on the shuttle, but sometimes he'll miss things as the Muta. Um, but I think offensively, it's mostly just like rookie stuff. And as he plays more, I think he's going to get better. But sometimes he won't go to it when it's open. And I know I did this for him when he was quarterbacking me, so he knows what it's like when the Wraith is open and the receiver just doesn't go to it. Um, but I feel like that's something that you just got to have a nose for. And then also, I think awareness. Like, I don't think the awareness is there yet. Where understanding how to improvise all the time, or be ready for the icons all the time, or find a way to get open all the time. But I think his jump ball catching is also. He might think it's better than mine. Maybe we'll get a contest and see. I'm down for it. Um, But yeah, I agree. I think he'll definitely for sure be in the top half. I'll put him as high as like if we have 7 teams, I think he could be like. Well, it depends on who's wide receiving. I'll say. Oh yeah, I mean if I'm quarterbacking, then I think he could easily be top 3 actually. But yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up this question with I think Krusty does have a lot of potential, as many of you guys agree with. I do think that he won't crack the top three wide receiver by end of next season, just in my opinion. But I do hope that he proves me wrong, and I hope me saying that will add more fire to himself because he's clearly has some type of motor that's wants to get better at blitz as well. I think that a comparison of him, like I do see similarities with him as with Sheep. I actually think that, and not in the same style of player, but I think that he's literally Ducks 2.0. I think I don't I think Ducks came in with a lot of potential, and he's lived up to most of it. I think so far. I think the last itch he still needs to crack his coverage and quarterback. Whereas Krusty, I think is also like has I think there's a high ceiling with Krusty, and but on the other side, he's not known for being a blitzer. I think he's just playing corner these days. Um, and I think from what I've seen, I actually think he's a pretty good coverage player. I do know that if you wanted to specifically target him, then there might be holes for sure. But just an all-around general thing that I've seen is I think he could hold his ground as a coverage guy. Um, but anyways, I don't think he'll crack the top three wide receiver, but I think it might become down to I haven't seen enough of those tense situations where can he create that block or will he cause an interception for their quarterback, right? Or will he win those jump balls that you're talking about, CJ? And those are the things that I haven't seen just yet. But like I said, I hope he proves me wrong. But for those reasons, I don't see him cracking the top three by end of next season.
It also depends on who his competition is. Like I have no idea who's going to be his competition yet.
That's fair. That's a fair
So
point as well. Okay. Okay. I guess. Wait, did I go? Sorry, Lem. You gotta keep me on track. It's getting late now, so um,
Yeah, I think we've all asked a question.
okay,
I don't think I have any more questions.
okay. All right, CJ. Let's wrap up with maybe one more from you, and if I have another one, I'll shoot my final one as well. So I hope you saved your best for last.
all right. So who I'm calling out the rookies here. Okay. Um you talked about Krusty's ceiling. Um and correct me if I'm wrong, but I sometimes wonder if some of the rookies when we give them praise and it's deserved, If they actually I feel like we see them as like an iceberg where we see their ceiling because they're doing things like at better than we would have expected early, but they also there's a lot that they just don't know yet, and so my question is, which rookie thinks that they're like higher than their floor or where they actually are standing, think they're already like, at their peak, at their ceiling or something. um yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Is that a fair question or no?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I'll go first just because, yeah, I just want to to start off this one. I think when Intox came into this league or into this community, he's shown so much potential in the first week he played. I I think he was the quickest or one of the quickest players to adapt to quarterback and do pretty well honestly in that first week he came in. Then there was a period where he went MIA. Likely for life reasons, and then came into the league, and it looked like he just hit a ceiling completely. Like I think he knew it himself. Like he played whether he played quarterback, wide receiver, or whatever it was, or defense or whatnot. It just looked like he hit a ceiling. Versus that first week we saw him when he looked like he was had like the Krusty and Ducks potential. So I think to answer your question, CJ, I think Intox. I think I don't know. Like there's definitely a lot of knowledge gaps that he still hasn't learned from the game. And he also has this boostology. Did I say that right, Len? Boostology
Boostology.
strategy that he himself and only a select few also use. That I feel like is also making him make a lot of mistakes on the defensive side of the ball. Um, and so I feel like Intox may view himself as the GOAT and and a top tier receiver. I just feel like next season, and again, I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope you know he has a great team behind him as well. But I feel like we'll start to see some holes next season, if he plays a full season.
Okay, yeah, it'll be good to see. It'll be interesting because when you look at the numbers for playing halves in Talks Mom, Cheeky, all of their numbers are really good for just playing halves.
No,
So
I do think that even when Indox played with us, I think that he played great. I am not actually shitting on him. I am very curious if he has another level to his game that I've already seen. Because I hope I'm wrong, but I do sadly feel like there may be a ceiling he hit. And the
mm,
reason why I hold him to such high standards is because I heard that this guy is a real gamer. He's gotten to high levels in other games, and I thought that would translate to Blitz because to me, Blitz is something that one can get to a high level if they have uh,
mhm.
the mechanics or the skill sets down, right? And so because of those reasons, I have a high standard for him, but I don't. But based on what I've seen in the last few months, I feel like I don't know if he make it there anymore, honestly.
That just made me think of a much better question I wanna ask and end on if that's all right. And but
Yeah,
unless
yeah,
but
yeah, sure. We could hold on to your question, but Lem, anyone that you want to call out from the rookie class?
Mm, not not really, honestly. The only thing I wanted to actually see is Nito play more, but I don't have any other call outs to make.
Colombian Lem. That's right.
Yes.
All right, CJ, give us that last question then.
okay. So Blitz, you talked a bit about uh, coming from other games at a high level and be able to have those skills and knowledge translate. How much of this game though is psychological, do you think? Versus and is that part of what makes this game that much more complex and difficult to master? But like how much of it is psychological versus mechanical skill, or knowledge?
That's a great question. Lem, you want to start?
Um, I think the game is mostly. I think it starts off being mechanical. You got to be able to make the catch, and you got to be able to run a route. Um, but I think at the higher levels, it's more knowledge and feel and how to cut, when to cut, um, how to get someone open, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, that's I think.
What about psychology? You don't think it plays a part in the game?
Um, I think I think it does. But I think it's kind of overhyped. Like I think if you run like three short, like for instance, if you run like three short slants in a row, and like, oh, now they're gonna go deep or something like that. Like I don't think anyone's really falling for that much.
Okay.
So, so psychology, I think, mm, overall, like if I were to just give you arbitrary numbers here, CJ, as a positionless, defensiveless, whatever, I think I would say the game is probably 70% mechanics, 30% psychology. But if I were to lock into the QB position, I think that is 70 psychology and 30 mechanics.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense actually.
I think that
Um,
even as a receiver, if I were to lock into receiver, then I think that there, in terms of layering, that's when the psychology stuff comes into play. But I would still only say it's probably like at most 20% because they can only do so much. It's only the QB one that I think has more
that's
control
true.
of the psychology part.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it does become a lot more psychological uh, when you're quarterbacking. I do think there's a lot of and obviously I think Young might be the biggest culprit of this. There's a lot of psychology on defense.
Correct. I'm sorry, I would agree with that. Yes. I actually feel like there's more times on defense where I think I'm in my own head psychology wise that
Yeah,
caused me to mess up every now and then, or
me too.
actually more often than not. But I think it's for, yeah, for other reasons, not necessarily what the other QB
Maybe
may
that's
be
what
doing.
makes Lem such a great defender. He just takes
He's not.
psychology out of it. He just knows
He's just lem
what he
hopping.
needs to do,
He's just
and
lem
he
hopping
does
with
it.
mechanics.
Um,
But yeah, I
yeah,
think that was a great question. I I think, like, I agree with like what you said earlier, CJ. I think when you first start to play the game, or was that you, Lem? I don't know. But when you first start to play the game, it is truly about the mechanics. But then you just eventually get to that point where the psychology will kick in.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, guys. CJ, unless you have another, like, actually, you know what? Unless you have a spicy question for us, I think it's safe to say we're going to wrap this up right now.
I think I hope I think I've asked them all. I mean, yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good, CJ. So,
Thanks, guys.
yeah, I appreciate your time, CJ. Thank you for coming on, answering our questions, as well as, sharing and getting things off your own chest. I think that's also very important. Lem, I didn't mean to take away from your job here again. I think you do. I think you do intros and outros amazing. So, would you like to finish the second half of where I was going with this?
I mean, I don't know exactly where you were going,
You
but thank
know,
you, both of you, for another week of the Bricked Up Blitz podcast. Thank you to the resident racist CJ for
oh
Oh
my
my God.
goodness. Oh,
accommodating us. And have a good night, and hopefully we can play some Blitz soon.
awesome.
Unreal.
All right. Thanks, guys. GG's.